Today, I'm jumping into the world of Nintendo and attempting to recreate 4 different elements from one of the most popular theme park lands in the world out of LEGO. In 2020, LEGO Super Mario was released and we were introduced to this guy, LEGO Mario. And despite being a little bit different and often a bit creepier than what people were expecting, the sets themselves over the years have managed to perfectly replicate the world thanks to the amazing brick-built characters and bright colors. Similarly, in 2021, Universal Studios Japan opened its doors to the newest and by far most popular expansion of the park yet, Super Nintendo World, allowing guests to step inside the world of Mario and become part of a real-life Mario Kart game for the first time ever. So in order to recreate this incredible place, I first had to get my hands on a few of the Mario sets. Kicking things off, I built by far the most recognizable location in the entire land and the entryway into the theme park, Peach's Castle. This set is LEGO's most recent version of her castle, and in my opinion, it looks the absolute best, even if it's not the biggest. The set itself is built in several small little sections that piece together to make the final product, which allows you to bend and twist and fold up the castle to make a much more compact display. However, unlike the park, the roof in the set is red and matches how the castle looks more in the older games versus a lot of the newer ones, which feature the roof in a much more pinky tone, which is exactly the same as what Universal used in real life. The design, shape, and even scale match the park perfectly, and it even comes complete with a printed brick of the iconic Peach mosaic in the main window. In front of the castle, you're supposed to place this small fountain build. However, since Peach's Castle is used as the entrance into the land, I'm going to remove it so that it feels a little bit more accurate. I then took the castle and placed it onto these 2 large custom plates that I'd built and then decorated things with some plants as well as a nice pathway, ready to welcome the guests in. Now, like I said, some of the highlights of the LEGO Mario sets are the characters that come included. And Peach's Castle was no exception, coming along with a Chomp Chain, Roy, and most importantly, our friend Toad. Now, if you didn't know, Toad has become a massive attraction and draw for people visiting the parks in himself, all thanks to his sick dance moves and of course a couple viral TikToks. He's one of 5 different characters that you can meet and by far is the most popular of them all. Besides him, you can also find Mario, Luigi, and Peach, who very much like the LEGO figures also talk to you in real life. And then recently you can also meet Donkey Kong, and since it's not a theme park without some meet and greets, I wanted to recreate these areas and give the characters a place to be. When it comes to Mario and Luigi, they are often found around this small little section, complete with a lucky block and a piranha plant animatronic right on the top. So I built up a small base using a variety of green tiles and then topped it off with this white section where the actual meet and greet will take place. Once that was done, I began to build a small wall section. To do this, I layered a variety of plates on top of each other to represent the different shades and textures of the wall. I then found a really neat piranha plant build in one of the other Mario sets that I thought was perfectly in scale, so I just took that build itself and then added it right on the top. I completed out the area by adding Mario and Luigi, and now they are ready to meet and greet all of the guests. Next up, I wanted to add a small section to Toad, which since he meets at the side of Peach's Castle, all I really needed to do was tile off a bit of a yellow pathway that led off to the side. Lastly, I really wanted to try and do something for Donkey Kong. Now, his section is a lot more basic than the other ones, with the only real detailing being a ton of bananas. So for this, I decided to mix things up a bit and use one of the Donkey Kong sets as a base, and since it captures the tropical feeling and leaves just enough space for Donkey Kong and a few minifigures to stand, I figured it would work pretty perfectly. After modifying the set a little bit, I added a bunch of bananas, no pun intended, in order to decorate things a little bit more, built up Donkey Kong and added him to the set, and then of course the area was complete. With the characters and their meet and greets all ready to go, next up I really want to build the only ride I've ever been on where I felt like the queue was better than the experience itself. The Mario Kart ride. Now look, I love Mario Kart, and yes, it is really cool to see a bunch of the Mario Kart 8 tracks in real life. However, a word of warning, this ride is not as amazing as the exterior makes it look, so just adjust your expectations accordingly. But that aside, after many years of demand, LEGO finally released a line of Mario Kart themed sets in January of 2025, coming complete with a bunch of cool LEGO versions of the carts, banana peels, red and green shells, item boxes, and for the first time ever, the base babies. This entire line is so cool, however there is one set that I figured I would probably need in order to replicate this ride, and that is the standard Kart set, as I wanted to use it as the base of the ride vehicle. It's pretty neat overall, though because of the absence of the electronic Mario figure, it does feel a little bit odd being its own standalone set. I love the inclusion of the giant plastic glider at the very back, as well as the stud shooter to fire off the shells. However, this kart is going to need some upgrades if it's going to look anything like how it does in the ride. First off, I had to sacrifice the glider to give myself a clean base to start with. I then wanted to extend the sides a little bit more to give myself some more floor space for the seating, which on the ride is done in 2 rows of 2. I added a couple of these jumper plates in order to space out the minifigures just enough so that everyone could sit down and still have enough room to ride and play. There's quite a large metal framing on the actual ride karts as well, so I topped it off by adding a couple of these long bar pieces to the very back in order to try and replicate that in some way. Now technically the wheels of the ride karts do sit horizontal on this, however I'm just going to leave them as is so that I can still roll it around and have some sort of motion. Lastly was to recreate the most popular Mario Kart track, which is by far Rainbow Road. I created a base using 2 large plates and then built up a rainbow pattern using 2x2 tiles and a diagonal pattern across the floor. I wanted this build to replicate this version of Rainbow Road in particular from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because this is personally one of my favorite Rainbow Road circuits, and also I feel like one that I could very easily replicate in Lego without using too many pieces. To finish things off, I added some golden rails onto the edge, but we all know they don't do anything when it comes to keeping you from falling off the track. But once I'd added my kart and a couple of passengers, the ride was now complete. The last section of Super Nintendo World that I wanted to recreate is the entrance to Yoshi's Adventure. This is a slow-moving ride where you sit on the back of a Yoshi through the skies of Super Nintendo World, and it is a very calm and relaxing experience. This main entrance is part of some of the main decor in Super Nintendo World, having these really large grassy tall hills, and it also features some of the most iconic Mario accessories and characters scattered around. So to start off, I collected a bunch of different Yoshis in a variety of colors in order to serve as the ride vehicles before getting started on the structure. Similar to Mario's meeting area, I started by creating a wall using a variety of dark orange and nougat colored pieces, topped off with those same green plates for the grass. I decorated each of the levels differently by adding a variety of different features that stood out to me about the real thing. So scattered throughout, you'll be able to find some Lucky Blocks, some Goombas, a Yoshi, and a bunch of trees. In real life, this structure is incredibly tall, and you enter through a green tunnel underneath the Yoshi ride section itself. However, I wanted to keep things simple, so the base of my build is just going to be the ride itself. Whilst it's only a very small slither of what makes up majority of the Super Nintendo World land, I am really happy with the result and think it's such a nice slice of what we see both within the Mario games as well as the land in the parks. With Yoshi's Adventure complete, my Lego version of Super Nintendo World is finally done. The real park is absolutely incredible, and after experiencing it in real life, I think I did a pretty good job at remaking it. Let me know which of the builds you think looks the best, and if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel down below. You can check out more Lego theme park recreations on the end screen, and until next time, I'll see you later.